Hi, mystery writers. It's Write a Killer Mystery. I'm your host, Zara Altair. This is the place where we discover how to make a good mystery great. And today I want to focus on the keys to start your mystery novel. The beginning is so important. That's where your reader meets you as an author for the very first time. So you want to get them engaged like right away. So for a reader, a new book is full of unknowns. They open it up, they open it to the first page. They don't know anything about your story. You may have written a blurb that gave them some hints, but now you're going to get them involved in your story. So when a reader starts your mystery, you can help them get involved by giving them the keys to what will follow. And your reader will know right away if this is the story for them. Because what you want is fully engaged readers who love not just your sleuth, not just the mystery, but they love how you, the writer, tell a story. And everything about your story is unknown to that reader when they open it up to page 1. So give them a time and a place and a sleuth to love and a murder to solve and get your reader into the story. That is their first job at the beginning. So for new novelists, getting to the point is throttled oftentimes by all the ideas you have in your head and all the things you know about your story. And your main goal at the beginning is to engage the reader. So all that knowledge, save it for later. All right? Now you want to get your reader to plunge right into that story. You just get them there and get them hooked. So because everything is unknown to your reader, as they start your mystery, expect the only thing they know is they expect a mystery novel. Somehow they've gotten that from your blurb or the title or the cover. So now at the beginning, you want to reassure the reader that the story you promised feels like the genre they want, gets your protagonist into action right away, and delivers a dilemma that keeps them reading more. So what are those keys? What are the keys that you can use right at the beginning to make sure you're letting your reader know how you tell the story and that the way you tell the story is the kind of story they want to read? Because there's nothing worse than thinking, I know this as a reader, thinking that you're getting one kind of story, and then, a little way in, it all kind of shifts and changes. So the beginning is really important. It's the start, and you're going to give them clues to what's going to be following with the big story. Now we're just at the beginning, all right? So you can help your reader get into your story by including certain mystery trope requirements right at the beginning, and they're pretty much story tropes. So you want to give them the basics, and really at the beginning, the basics is what your reader wants. So they want to know, where am I? Where am I? So in the first scene, tell your reader where the story takes place. You don't need a long descriptive passage about, LA or the English countryside. You just want to give them hints. You just let them know where they are, where in the world or your imaginary world they are. So is it a well-known big city? Is it a future landscape? Is it a period village? Just ground your reader. Give them a sense of place. So they know right away they're in modern-day New York or Detroit, or they are in the British countryside and it was a couple of centuries ago, or that they're on another planet in a future time. Whatever it is, just with everything that's happening at the beginning, give them a sense of where the story takes place. Okay. And then, of course, who is my hero? Right away, you want to introduce your sleuth. And your reader wants to see your sleuth in action, not drinking a morning coffee and wondering what she will do today. That's just a terrible way to start a story. You want to plunge them right into something happening. So right away, give your sleuth a dilemma and then demonstrate a skill that your sleuth uses to solve this dilemma. And it's a skill they're going to use later on in the story to solve your mystery. But show your readers, you're introducing your sleuth to your readers, and they want to get a sense of who they are. And am I going to like following this gal or guy all the way through to the story's conclusion? So you want to introduce your sleuth, but introduce your sleuth in action and show a personality trait and show just little hints of who this person is. Your sleuth is the reader's guide through the whole mystery puzzle solving that continues on for the rest of your mystery. So you want to introduce your sleuth right away and give them a sense of who they are and whether they want to follow this character through the next 300, 400 pages of your story. Okay, and then what time is it? Is it today? Is it yesterday? Is it sometime in the future? So along with place, you want to let your reader know when the story takes place. And if your story takes place in the current time, you don't need to emphasize the time. But for historical mysteries and futuristic or sci-fi mysteries, you need to set the time so the readers don't expect it to be now and come up short when, wait, oh my goodness, this was the 14th century, or I'm in the 23rd century. They just give them a sense of where they are in history and time. Because you don't want to surprise them with coming into your mystery and thinking it's now, and then later on discovering there's this time warp in your story that is really not now, but a couple of centuries ago. And anytime you bring your reader up short, they can get angry at you and they will put your book down and not read it anymore. So be sure to at least give them a sense of when your story takes place. And then, very important, where's the action? The beginning is not the place to describe your hero's clothing in minute detail. Save that for later, or go into a long descriptive narrative setting. I know a couple of years ago I started a thriller, and it took 3 chapters to get to the story because the whole first part was a period piece, so it was every character's clothing in minute detail, somebody's buttons down their shirt, and I'm like, when is the story gonna start? And I wasn't even sure who the hero was. So you want to make all of that really clear at the beginning. So for the action, just something that causes a dilemma for your sleuth, that trips them up. It could be an opponent who's going to continue on in your story, giving them a hard time. It could be a neighbor's lost dog. It could be a burglar in the sleuth's home, or a street confrontation with somebody as he tries to save someone's life. Anything that shows how your sleuth responds to opposition and crisis. That's what you want to show your reader right away. You're giving them hints about how your sleuth is going to solve the bigger problem of your mystery later on in the story. So whatever the action, bring it up front and center right at the beginning. Right at the beginning. It's one of the best ways to start your story. Action right at the beginning. Because your reader gets to learn about your sleuth. They get to learn how they work. You get to learn the way they solve problems, because it's a big problem coming up. We aren't at the murder yet. We're just meeting the sleuth, but there's a big problem coming up. So you're giving your reader a hint of how your sleuth approaches conflict, approaches opposition, approaches problems. And this is a great way to introduce your sleuth. And whether they're a fighter or a thinker, your reader is going to know right away. And then, how does your story feel? So it's something that sometimes beginning writers overlook is, what is the tone of your story? Because the tone is something, is how the reader feels as they're reading your story, and you want to show them what your writing tone is, or what the tone of this story is, so they know right away that this is the type of story that they like. It doesn't matter what the tone is. You just want to make it clear right at the beginning. This is the way this story is told. So it can be humorous, it can be noir, it can be traditional, you can have lots of witty dialogue. It doesn't matter, but that's your tone, your storytelling tone, and it's one of the ways you connect with your reader. You want to reassure your reader that the story you promised is what they're going to get in this story. And you are introducing your storytelling skills to the reader. Okay, so we have, where am I? Who's my hero? What time is it? And where's the action? Those are really the keys to, and how does it feel? Those are really the keys to starting your story, to get your reader right into the story and get involved and liking the way you tell the story, your hero, and the way things are set up. And then just a little caution, beware the story stoppers. Story stoppers at the beginning are narratives that keep your story from starting off, and you'll keep your reader from getting to the important ingredients that make them want to keep reading your story. So here's a few of those story stoppers. You want to minimize descriptive details at the beginning. I talked about this before, and I'm saying it again. No laundry lists of features of the protagonist or the setting. We don't need a long physical description of your hero right now. You can get to all those physical details later. And the same with the story. I know I said, let your reader know where they are, but you can do that with hints. You can do that with what your sleuth sees as they look out a window or down the street. But now is not the time for long narrative description. Take the details and sprinkle them throughout your story later. Okay, and then here's something that can happen. There's a gratuitous hook, because writers are told, give your reader a hook right at the beginning so they'll keep reading. Well, the best hook is a good story. So a gratuitous hook is something that's there just for excitement, but it's not really part of the story. Some people use, like a sexy sex scene or a big fight or something like that, because you're going to get your reader all involved in your story. And then that's it. That isn't what really happens in the rest of the story. And it's really a letdown for your reader. So there's no point in doing that. There's just no point. Good storytelling trumps tricks. That's all right. And then backstory. You want to avoid backstory at the beginning. I've heard guidelines of don't start on your backstory till maybe 30% into your story. Then you can go back and tell your reader details about your sleuth's past life and how that's affecting their actions. But at the beginning, no backstory. We don't need the backstory now. We want to get into the story. And then, of course, your syntax. So readers are put off by adjective and adverb heavy sentences. So keep it clean, keep it moving with your writing. The main goal at the beginning is to get your reader into the story. You can save all the details and all your knowledge about whatever it is your story's about till later. Right now, you just want to get them to know where they are, when the story takes place, who the sleuth is, and what your writing style is like. How does it feel? How does your storytelling feel? Those are the important things you want at the beginning of your story. So what you're doing is taking your reader from the unknown. They don't know anything about you, your sleuth, your storytelling style, any of those things until they start reading. So you want to take them from the unknown to story excitement. You want to get them all involved so they're like, yes, oh boy, I want to read this story. And you know, when you find a story and right at the beginning you go, oh boy, I'm going to like this. I'm going to like this. So it doesn't matter what your style is or who your sleuth is or any of those things. It's just give your reader the clues right at the beginning of how you, the writer, you, the author, tell your story. Because that's the way you get fans. That's the way you get fans, is people like the way you tell a story. So your story goal at the beginning is to make the reader want to keep reading. So give your reader the basics, and this assures them that this is a story they want to read, because the beginning is a promise of what you're going to deliver later on, and then your goal is to deliver on the promise. That's it. Story writing is a lot of fun, and so I hope you're enjoying your story writing, and give it some gusto at the beginning, because your readers are really going to like it. You don't need to be tentative at all. Just plunge right in and get going with your story. All right, that's it for today, and I want to thank my patrons for their support, because it helps keep these videos coming. And if you would like to, there's a link below where you can discover more about supporting me on Patreon. And of course, please, if you like this episode, subscribe, click the little reminder bell so you'll find out when the next episode is happening. And in the meantime, keep writing, and I will see you soon.